Counting it down to the 9 o'clock start of the Buddy Martin Show. It's Meldon Law Monday. Hope you'll join us tonight for a conversation about Gator football and Gator basketball and whatever else is on your mind. But tonight on the program, Shane Matthews will join us. We'll get his take on what happened on Saturday in Nashville. Pretty painful. Then I think it might be time to turn the page and look at FSU coming up. So Brant Spear will join us tonight. Aaron Duke, always entertaining, had a good piece today on the Aussie punter who's learned to hate FSU already. So come join us tonight. Tell your friends and neighbors Buddy Martin Show is on the air. Spend the next hour with us. You might learn something and you might have some fun right here on the Buddy Martin Show.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to a Meldon Law Monday. I'm Buddy Martin's program. It's called The Buddy Martin Show. That would be me. We're with you 4 nights a week. We're with you on Tuesday mornings with Shane. We're on Sidelines on the weekend. And we do our Orange and Blue Blood show Sunday mornings. Lots of Buddy Martin. Maybe too much. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, it's Monday. It's time to reflect back a minute. And then maybe time to turn the page and move on to what is next. I know many of you are still unhappy about what happened in Nashville. Don't blame you. As I said on the Orange and Blue Blood show, plenty of blame to go around on that one, including the coaches. So they're going to have to get better. Let's start, though, on up note tonight. Say good evening to Eric Newton. Eric Newton in the pole position. Congratulations, Eric. Becky Smith Carlisle just barely missed it, Becky. You're almost always in there first. Terry Johnson, nice to hear from you. Queenie Kwanda. Queenie's a regular. Good to see you, Queenie. Nice to have you aboard. David Hunter, thank you. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. The same to you, David, and to everybody. This is my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving, and I hope you're going to have a good one. Hope your family is safe and well, and that you're going to be together and have food and football and family and all that stuff. It's a great time, I think, in our country, and I plan to celebrate with my relatives. In fact, we will not be on the air Thursday night. We're taking a holiday, getting ready for the FSU game on Saturday. So, so our normal Thursday night Orange Blue show and Gator Connection show collectively will be on Wednesday night this week. Slight program change. So, coming up in just a minute, Shane Matthews will join. I've been watching the World Cup. Don't ask me why, because I feel like I needed to. I'll tell you my thoughts about it, what little bit I know about soccer, which is not much. I'll also tell you that we'll hash out some things this week about this FSU game. Florida, a 9.5-point underdog. Wow. I mean, how much do you hate the Noles, or do you? What's your all-time favorite play and game, FSU Florida? What about the most memorable play, the most controversial? We got a few to choose from. The late hits on Danny in 96. The Lane Fenner, that's for old school, the Lane Fenner catch, which was ruled not one in Florida's favor back in, what even year was that, 64 or 5? Somebody help me out here. You're beyond me. How about Ernest Graham's ankle being twisted? And how bad Coach Spurrier got about that one. So, yeah, those are a few. And so, does anybody hate the Noles anymore? Well, apparently one guy on this team does. Of all things, an Australian punter, Jeremy Crawshaw. He talked today to friends, among other people, in the press conference. We'll ask Franz about that as well. Apparently has a great distaste for these Noles. Let's do this. Go ahead and say good evening to Jeffrey Moore, Jerry Frazier, Jennifer Lay, Al, A.J. Rowe, Russell Dishman, Brandon Fletcher, Toby C. Parmenter again, and Jeff Owens. We'll get to your comments in a minute, folks. First, let's go over and hear from our friends at Meldon Law. It's Meldon Law Monday, after all, and here's Jeffrey, who wants to join the band.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
All right, Meldon Law, they won't back down, the official injury law firm of the Florida Gators. Yeah, so the press conference today was interesting. I wanted to see how Billy Napier would react. If you didn't read my column, and a lot of you didn't on Gator Bait, I took him to task pretty good, and I just simply said, you know, you got to get it right, and there are a lot of things wrong, and this is not acceptable. If you're the coach of the Florida Gators, he knows that. He took ownership of the mistakes that were made. So we'll hear a little bit from him, and we'll talk to Shane and tell you about our thoughts. And I'll tell you some of the things that concerned me about the way the game was coached and played, and I'm sure Shane has a few as well. So let's hear from Billy, first of all, about the ownership of what happened.
Right. We, simply put, a lot of lessons to learn from our experience in Nashville. The laundry list of things that contributed to not playing winning football was way too long, right? And certainly as the head coach, all those things are my responsibility. We certainly could do a lot of things better. Simply put here, we got to get up off the ground, dust ourselves off, and get back to work. Fight for each other, work hard for each other. Quickly turn the page here in a short week to get ready against a really good Florida State team.
Yeah, so I played that because I wanted you to hear him taking ownership, but you had to do, of course. And you can't keep giving answers that are basically talking around the problem because Gator fans won't put up with it. And he was pretty good today. I listened to the whole press conference. I know Franz was there. We have a couple of questions he asked. And he's not going to throw the quarterback under the bus, but there were a number of things wrong, and we'll get to those in a minute, with Shane, who joins the program now, the color man for the Florida Gators and the host of Pot Up with Matthews, joins the program, Shane Matthews. Good evening to you, Shane.
What's happening, buddy?
Well, I'm trying to sort out this mess that we saw from Vanderbilt, and I know you had a lot to say about it today on the air. Where do you go from here? I think Gator fans are like saying, okay, as I wrote in my column, they were headed up I-95 and had their blinker lights on, about to change directions, this football team. It was all in front of them, except they never made the turn. And what they did on Saturday set them back, I won't say light years, but certainly a lot, and it disappointed a lot of people. And the thing about it was there were so many things wrong with that game, not the least of which was at one point, and you guys called it, I don't know if anybody else did or not, there were only 10 men on the field on defense, I think, for almost 2 plays. And we can go over the litany of mistakes that were made, but there are many, many things. So I don't know how far I want to dissect this thing, get it out, get it over with, and go on. But Shane, I heard your call. I know you were saying early on in the game that they were wide open in the secondary, deep secondary. You wanted them to attack that more, yet they couldn't seem to run the football. What happened to this team, Shane?
We lost the game because of 4 plays in the game, buddy. Mm-hmm. People can make up what they want. In my opinion, the team was ready to play. The plan was fine. If you take away 4 plays, only one of them had anything was a physical deal. There were 3 huge penalties in the game. One was on a 27-yard run down to the 4-yard line, where Ty Bowman was not lined up on the line of scrimmage like he should have been. He was staring right at the official. I don't know why he didn't get on the ball.
Then or as you said, why he didn't ask the official. You
right,
brought that up.
But he knew it was a run play, so you can have every guy can be on the line of scrimmage for a run play, and it's legal. Just get on the line of scrimmage. Then the 3 plays on defense where we had 3rd and long and we stopped them. One was a sack with a face mask. Look, you can't fault the guy, Antoine Powell-Rowland, who made a play. Just unfortunate, grabbed the face mask. The 2 penalties, the other one was our center, Kingsley, and another good play, took a cheap shot at a guy. And then on defense, we had a cheap shot by Princely after his stop. And then the fumbled punt. Other than that, I mean, you can question this or question that, but you can question every play in football. You take away, if you just take one of those away, we win the game. Vanderbilt didn't do a whole lot, quite honestly. They played keep away. They'd run the football, convert, quarterback run around, make a play. Should have won the football game. It's disappointing. But I don't think we played any different than we had all year, quite honestly. I just think those 4 mistakes right there cost us the football game.
Okay, let's dissect those and talk about the fact that the mental mistakes were as bad as anything.
Well, only one of those was mental. The other ones were physical, dumb penalties. The one not lining up on the line of scrimmage, he's a young player. Obviously, he was confused, but again, he will learn from this, hopefully, that if you don't know if you're supposed to be on or off, I would hope our quarterback would see that to help him. But if you know it's a run play, you can always be on the line of scrimmage. Whether you got 10 guys on the line of scrimmage, it's a legal play.
Yeah. Yeah, so what about the coaching errors of only having 10 men on the field on defense?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't answer that. You would think that the defensive coaches upstairs would notice it. It happens. I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, it's not acceptable. I don't know if Vanderbilt even scored that drive, quite honestly. I can't remember.
Yeah, if you go with litany of mistakes in between the muffed punts, the drop balls, even the Hail Mary that wasn't a Hail Mary where you threw out of the end zone in the last play of the game.
Well, the play before that was worse than throwing it out of the end zone, quite honestly.
Okay. Well, tell me why.
Well, we threw a 5-yard out route that was low. The game was over. I don't know. If I was Clark Lee, I would have gone ballistic on the sideline.
They stopped the clock.
It should have never stopped. The game was over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we threw that. It made no sense at all.
Yeah, well, so there's enough mistakes to go around, but let's just go. But let's take something as simple as getting the right number of people on the field. I know coaching mistakes are made, but people will say, "Well, look, he has 100 people. They can't all coach, but he has a lot of people there, right?"
Right. Well, again, that we did not. We had, I think it was 2 plays or 1 play with 10 guys on defense. Again, that shouldn't happen, but it happened, but it didn't have any outcome on the game.
As it turned out, but it could have. My point is there were a lot of mental mistakes, drops. I would even say to the point, this is just an observance from a fan from far away. I don't know as much football as you do, but I got to say that, I'm not saying fire Billy Napier, don't get me wrong. I think he had a bad game. He didn't call the right plays at times. I didn't care for the play calling. They abandoned the run game for reasons I don't quite understand. AR should have pulled the ball a few times and didn't, etc. And it all added up. And it all added up into to a team like Vanderbilt. And Shane, we know what it's like in the Bermuda Triangle of the Nashville up there. We've seen it ever since you played in before. You go up there, you make mistakes, they get you in the hole, and in past time, they've been able to bail out. They couldn't bail out this time. They couldn't get it done.
This team's not good enough to bail out anything. And like I told you, in my opinion, you can look at everything, drop passes, 10 men on the field, whatever you want. 4 plays decided the outcome of that game. If only 3 of those happen, the Gators win. If 2 of them, Gators win easy. Those were crucial plays in the game. But yeah, you can't let a team like them get ahead of you. We're not good enough to come from behind to beat anybody. Yeah.
So a lot of questions tonight and comments. People kind of angry about what happened. I want to move forward to FSU in a second. Let's let a few people get their words in here tonight, and we'll try to address what they say. Van Der says, all Shane is going to say is AR cannot be a good quarterback, and the coaches did okay. That's what he says of you.
Well, here's the bottom line. He played decent, but he's not running the football, whether that's the coaches telling him not to, which to me makes absolutely no sense.
Right.
Look, he will not be here. He will not be here. He's going to go pro, buddy. I really believe that. And I have nothing against him, but to be a solid quarterback, it doesn't matter if you're playing at Florida, Florida State, Miami, Duke, it doesn't matter. Consistency is the key to that position. Look at the teams that win games. We're sitting here at 6-5. We've lost 5 football games. We are not consistent. If you're consistent, doesn't matter who it is playing that quarterback position on whatever team, you have a very good chance of winning the football game. Okay, so that's my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. That they have their opinion. But you find me one football team that wins games. I'm not talking about going 7-5. I'm talking about teams that win at a high percentage. It's consistent play. And what I don't understand is fans want him back next year. I get it. He's a talented kid. What's going to change? That's what I want to know. People will be complaining about him not running the football. So I don't know what there is there. There's going to be a lot of turnover on this football team next year. A lot.
Well, let's speak to one right now. I know this is second guessing, and maybe it's a bit unfair, but when you're down to your third string receivers, which they were, and you got a guy returning punts, your third team punt returner who muffed the punt, which is unfortunate. He did. It cost him 7 points. And you got guys who keep getting hurt. You have to look at what you had to start with. Now, I know this sounds like a broken record. And I'm going to say I think I've seen enough, and I think the receivers played pretty well for the lack of experience. But this is a team that could have used Trent Whittemore, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, we still threw for 400 yards.
I get it.
Dejon Reynolds, that I've loved since the spring, I'm glad he got an opportunity to play because he's a good football player.
Yeah.
Look, passes are going to be dropped. It's happened on every team. Do you want it to happen? No. Dejon dropped a touchdown. 3 plays later, he caught the touchdown.
Came back to that was a good call.
Same exact play. That end zone at that portion of the game, even on the fumble punt, I don't know if the sun played a factor, but they were staring right into the sun.
Yeah.
Look, buddy, we are who we are. Losing to Vanderbilt is horrible, but I'm telling you, there's only 3 or 4 plays that cost us that football game.
By the way, losing to Vanderbilt and Kentucky in the same year, which I think the last time it happened was 74, I believe, when Ray Graves was coach. It should be Doug Dickey was coach. So anyway, trying to evaluate where we are right now. I'm not trying to create a controversy to get rid of Billy Napier. I like Billy Napier. I think
Billy's a good. Look, Billy ain't going anywhere. I tell
no, I know that. Nor do I think.
You don't like Billy Napier? Go find you another football team to root for. That's all I can say.
But
he's not going anywhere for a long time.
But as Greg and John say, his honeymoon period is probably over now.
The honeymoon is over when you get here. I mean, first of all, let me ask your listeners, buddy, this, because this is what bothers me. What did everybody predict before the season started in August with this team? What was the record?
Well,
I said 6-6, and if we won 7 games, it would be a hell of a year. Okay, we're sitting at 6-5.
Needing to beat your arch rival real bad right now, and 9.5-point underdogs, and we'll see. I think they're also. You might be right. Maybe you were right. Maybe expectations got too high. Maybe we all expected too much, but we were led to believe when this team played the last 2 weeks that they had turned a corner.
They played 2 bad football teams, though. That's it's who it was on their schedule. That's who you play.
Yeah.
But we made mistakes. Here's the difference because I look at the games different, and that's why I tell you people that say we didn't show up to play, I totally disagree with that 100%. We played hard. We had some very unfortunate things happen. The penalties, the fumble punt. If those don't happen, we win the football game. I am convinced of that. But we had good things happen to us in the previous 2 games. You lose the turnover battle, you're going to lose the game more times than not. And we lost the turnover battle.
Yeah, I don't know, Perry Mason. You don't understand. The question was asked today. You just don't flat out and ask it like that, Perry, in the media. It's not the way it's done.
What's the question?
Really disappointed nobody in the press asking him about AR not running the first half. They did ask him about it.
Look.
They didn't come out and say, why didn't you run any more the first half? Fans don't understand. You have to be a little diplomatic while you ask the question.
Right. But here's the thing. Nobody knows except Billy Napier and Anthony Richardson or anybody on that team if he's supposed to be pulling that ball, if it's supposed to be a read, or if they said, you know what, we don't trust you reading it anymore. We're going to tell you to give it, or we're going to tell you when to keep it. Do you really think Billy Napier, who's been coaching football and knows more football than any of us listening and doing this show, is dumb enough to not allow that kid to be a run read options? Now, if Anthony doesn't want to do it, the only problem I have is play somebody else that does. But again, we're not going to sit here and try to base your offense around running the football at the quarterback position. I'm a firm believer of that. Go root for Nebraska. We're not going to be Tommy Frazier of the 80s.
Now, Lawrence,
you've got to throw the football to win in college football.
Lawrence says he's right. He said in the presser he made some bad reads. He did say that. People ask, well, why?
Okay.
He said that.
I didn't see the press conference.
Yeah, he did. He owned it. So, anyway, I don't want to spend the entire time you're on talking about this game. It's history. It's in the books. Now, where do you go from here? What has to happen? We had a conversation earlier about how much you hate FSU. One guy said if they were playing the Russians, he'd root for the Russians over FSU. That hate, there's a story tonight by Franz Beard about Jeremy Crawshaw hating FSU. He's Aussie, for crying out loud. Shane, you know what it was like. You played against them, you played the semis, and during the head ball coach's time, they were hated. That rivalry that he and Coach Bowden. Having won 4 in a row, it takes the edge off that. Now FSU is back. I don't know how good FSU is, but I've asked the question tonight, what was your favorite moment against FSU as a fan or a player, and what was your most memorable win, and what was the most controversial play you can remember out of FSU Florida?
Well, I went 1-2 against them. Every time we played, both teams were in the top 10 or top 5 in America. We won 14-9 my junior year in the Swamp. Third play of the game, pocket collapsed, and I rolled my left ankle, so I got a high ankle sprain, and I but I tore cartilage in my right knee. But I played the whole game, had surgery the day after. But winning that game, it was supposed to be a shootout, turned into a defensive bloodbath. I guess the most controversial, back when they were hitting Danny Lade. Maybe it was something about stepping on Ernest Graham's hand.
Well, actually twisted Ernest Graham's knee.
That's what it was.
Yeah, they grabbed him and they were very dirty that way. In the pile, twisting his knee, and it cost him Ernest Graham. And, of course, the play you're talking plays against Danny, where, of course, the year they won the national championship, 96, played there in the game. And it was a heck of a football game. FSU won 21-20, 44-21. But they hit Danny late a bunch of times, so many times that Coach Spurrier made a video up and showed it to the media and complained about it and whatever, and ripped on, and he was really adamant about it. He wouldn't let go of it. I think the administration kind of wanted to, and he wouldn't let go of it. He kept on talking about the Bobby Bowden and Mick Andrews School of Defense, the echo of the whistle. Remember, you were gone by then, but the echo, they hit to the echo of the whistle, and somebody counted the late hits. I think Coach Spurrier, I don't remember how many it was, 13, 14, whatever. And Denny, I mean, was amazing in that game. He stood tall, and I remember when the game was over, Shane, they interviewed people in those days in the underground of Doak Campbell, outside the locker room, and they had chairs and stuff for him. I remember Danny standing on a folding chair, beat up all over, blotches all over him from getting hit late. I remember him saying he was the only person in that room, I kid you not, who said we can still win the national championship. Nobody else believed that. And, of course, as you know, what happened, not only did they win it, they beat Florida State to win it. So that has to be one of the great moments of Florida.
Yeah, I mean, look, that rivalry was, like I told you, it was a bloodbath week in and week out in the 90s. There was nothing like it. And physical. All Spurrier's quarterbacks took a beating in every game, but none of them missed a game.
That's amazing.
You better be a tough SOB, and you better be a competitor, or you ain't playing.
Shane, what's the worst you ever got beat up?
In the FSU game?
No, any game.
Well, the FSU game, when you have a high left ankle sprain and a torn meniscus in your right knee, the third play of the game,
pretty bad.
It's hard to move around. But Mississippi State used to always beat me up pretty good. They were always using the most physical team we played. I took a beating every game, buddy. I was 175 pounds.
I know you did. You're a warrior.
Well, I just was taught that if you're going to play that position, you better be tough. Because you're going to get hit.
Yeah. Well, people are starting to get the fever now. They sure like to have this win. Jane from Alaska says she's ready for them to beat the Seminoles this week. And folks, would this, if he wins Friday night, if they win, right, has Billy had a successful season in your mind?
I think the season's been successful. Look, here's the thing. This team has played hard every game. The team did not play hard every game last year. He's gotten rid of a lot of issues on the team, and he's just going to have a big turnover at the end of the year. I don't look at the records because, again, I thought we'd go 6-6 or 7-5. We're just not a consistent football team at all.
What could Billy have done differently?
Like I said, buddy, in my opinion, I don't think he's called hardly any bad plays. He's handcuffed with what he has, and he's trying to do what he can do to win football games. Fans may not like it, but I can't tell you how many people still worry about the end of the half. I've gone back and watched every end of the half. I've had zero problem with it because we had a long run. And then we had a penalty. Then we threw like 2 or 3 incomplete passes. What are you supposed to do? Look, it all comes down to execution, believing in your players, and being a consistent team. We're not.
All right. Scott Sloan says Shane has been right on about everything he has said about the Gators this year. He told us the defense was going to be a weak point of the team, and he told us we'd be lucky to get 7 wins. Shane knows football.
I mean, look, that was my opinion. I'm not going to be sit here and say I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm going to tell it like it is, what I feel. And yeah, I mean, I think we've gotten better defensively, quite honest. And offensively, we are what we are. You don't know what you're going to get.
Question from David Hunter says, Shane, do you think Bo Nix would be at this point? Did you think Bo Nix would be at this point in the year at Oregon? I never saw that coming.
Bo's had a good year. I haven't really watched him. He's always been extremely talented. He just ran out of the pocket way too much for me. I remember Coach Bernard used to talk about that. I have not watched him maybe 5 plays this year at Oregon, so I really can't comment on it.
Well, crazy stuff happened on the weekend. I know Billy made reference to it. Certainly what happened in Columbia. There's not a word out that it's not been confirmed, but Jeremy Banks, the linebacker, supposedly got an altercation. But that's not been
Who?
The Banks, the guy who was the linebacker for Tennessee. He was held out of the game. And he's a senior linebacker. And there's a report, but unconfirmed, that he got into a scrape before the game and held out. And Josh Heupel would not confirm it. He's a senior linebacker. Heupel said Banks just wasn't available and is anticipating hopeful next week. There have been abundance of speculation as to what happened. So that team certainly came out like something was wrong. But give it up for South Carolina. What a game they played.
Well, Tennessee has one of the worst defenses in America. I saw it firsthand. And everybody's taking advantage of it, but they've just been able to outscore people. But South Carolina, Spencer Rattler played outstanding.
He did.
But it caught up with them because Tennessee did not. They had one of the worst secondaries I've seen all year. And they lit them up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was a surprise. There were a lot of crazy things happening, Shane, this weekend, and people are not finishing as good as we thought. The national, I'll bring friends on just for a minute here to talk about this, but just to finally get you one more question. As we talk about this whole national picture now, there's some stuff that went down that was bizarre. I think France has a phone ringing. Anyway, let's turn France down. Talk about the national picture now, how it's shaping up. The teams, Georgia, Ohio State. Ohio State was really lucky to win that game. That game against Maryland was a lot closer. And I saw Copeland catches and passes from Maryland, by the way. Michigan, Ohio State will decide that. TCU is in there. USC's hanging in. LSU, Tennessee's out of it now, and Clemson. Who's going to be that fourth team, Shane?
Well, a lot of it depends on what TCU does. I think if TCU loses one game, they're out. I think Michigan, Michigan, Ohio State, how that game goes, I think that loser still has an opportunity. I think Clemson's still in the mix. USC is definitely in the mix. They have Notre Dame and then the Pac-12 championship. And you talking about a guy that's put the whole team on his back, and Caleb Williams, good gracious, has he had a hell of a year. He's probably, in my opinion, Drake May would be he had a touchdown, beautiful touchdown throw that the kid dropped to beat Georgia Tech. But I would have Drake May and Caleb Williams as my top 2 Heisman guys. As bad as USC is on defense, they're just outscoring people. And Caleb Williams, he's as close to Patrick Mahomes as anybody I've ever seen.
A lot to happen. Depends on what happens this weekend, naturally. In terms of the Heisman, I'm having a hard time because Hendon Hooker's out of it now. Things have changed. I can't vote for Ohio State's guy based on how he played. So I'm not going to get my this weekend will decide it for me and my Heisman vote. as Drew
Buddy,
does.
did you watch Caleb Williams Saturday night?
I did. I did watch him. Yeah, he played well, really well. No, he's in there.
470-something yard. Boy,
Yeah.
he is good.
Yeah,
But he can't go pro. He's got to stay in school another year.
Yeah, he's physical too. I'll say that. He's a heck of a player. But it's always usually the player. I think our little man in Georgia's out of it now. After the way they played, he didn't play well. So we'll see. I'll have to watch this weekend's game. Shane, you got any special plans for Thanksgiving?
Just the normal old routine that I do about every year.
What's your favorite dish on Thanksgiving Day?
Oh, I'm a big sweet potato casserole guy.
Oh, yeah.
I've never understood, because you have the old green bean casserole.
Yeah.
You got the turkey. You got the sweet potato casserole. You got all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so damn good. Why do we only eat it like once or twice a year?
Yeah. Does yours have marshmallows on it?
Yeah. I don't do the cinnamon in it though, because
No.
that ruins it.
No.
But yeah, the marshmallows on top.
Oh yeah, gotta have the marshmallows and of course if the dressing was done right, depends with gravy on it. It actually would be.
But
good.
isn't it weird that that's like the only? It's so good that why wouldn't you eat it more than once or twice?
I'd like. And by the way, my mother used to make great sweet potato pies that were better than any pumpkin pie.
I can't eat the pie. I don't know why.
Oh,
it has to be,
gosh.
It has to be either banana pudding or chocolate.
I would challenge you to tell the difference between the pumpkin and sweet potato. My mother's pies. I guarantee. France, could you like sweet potato pie, France? Hang on a second, Francis.
Four Rivers Barbecue.
You what?
Four Rivers Barbecue has sweet potato casserole every day of the week.
Well, there you go, Shane.
Every time I go there, it's sweet. It's some sort of barbecue to go with sweet potato casserole, and something else in there, jalapeno cornbread.
Well, listen, sounds all good. You can deliver it to my house. I'll be ready for you on Thursday. All right, just bring it on over. So you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Shane, you have a good one. Who you got on the show tomorrow morning? Oh, wait a minute.
I got you and Chris Harry's going to be talking. He's going to give us a preview of the basketball tournament in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Head out tomorrow.
Yeah.
But he'll give us a breakdown of all that.
Good. I'm gonna get Franz to give us that tonight on our show. So very good. Listen, you have a good one, and we'll listen to you on the air Friday night. That's the only I can make any sense turning down the TV and listening to you and Sean. So let us know what's going on, buddy. Talk to you in the morning.
All right, guys. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving to you. The great Shane Matthews. Well, Francis, it's time again for Thanksgiving and football and all the good stuff that goes on there. Before I get into the basketball, I got a few little things to tidy up here with you. You were throwing some questions at Coach Napier today, and I want to go to the two of the questions you had back to back. All right, here's Franz grilling Billy Napier today.
Ferocious comebacks in 3 games that could have resulted in winning the game. How frustrating is the inconsistency that you can't get that kind of effort and that kind of production earlier?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think about that at times. I think that you're until you get in the middle of the fight. I think that's one of the things, kind of like we're talking about Mark's question relative to performing with consistency, handling success, handling failure, being a consistent competitor. And I think ultimately when you see that, you kind of flip that switch in times when you get behind, or maybe you're behind the 8 ball, or it's a closer game than expected. Those are the things that I'm talking about from a maturity standpoint. As a team, I think that's a little bit of where we're at. So, but I think it's a great question and one that I think about often.
Maturity there is understanding that you're good enough to play with these guys, part of the equation here, in getting these guys to understand that, okay, you're as good as the teams you're playing.
Yeah, no, I think we've got a lot of young players that have developed confidence as the seasons went along. But I also think, we're a team that can be very average and we're a team that can be elite, you know. And I think that it comes down to doing it when it counts, right? Put the ball down, you go execute, go do your job, you know. And I think consistency that's what we're searching for. Certainly Saturday was a little bit of a reality check in a lot of ways.
Indeed, it was a reality check, France, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and it's the lack of discipline that was the concern, because realistically speaking, that should have been no worse than a 28-0 Florida win. I mean, you get Vanderbilt off the field twice on third down on that first scoring drive, and then you give up a touchdown. You give up the muffed punt when Jason Marshall lost the ball in the sun. He said, look, I couldn't see the ball. It was coming over my shoulder, and I could not see the ball coming out of the sun. That's a giveaway. Next touchdown, they extended again. Defensive holding in the secondary. I thought that one was dubious, but just the same, it was close enough. And Amari Burney knows better. That's the thing about it. You cannot allow yourself to be in that position where you're going to get nailed on a 50-50 judgment call by the official, particularly when you're on the road. You just cannot do that. So, you look at that, the fourth touchdown, that was a gimme. The Florida would not have been in the position to be throwing the ball all over the ball yard if they had not been trailing and down 9 points with such a short period of time left in the game. So you look at this thing, and I'm telling you, it should have been no worse than a 28-0 win. And you just have to shake your head. Go back to the Kentucky game. The game was given away. Kentucky had one offensive touchdown really in that whole ball game. The others were gimmies because of the turnovers. The Tennessee game, chunk plays, couldn't get all off the field on third down. LSU, chunk plays, couldn't get off the field on third down. They scored enough points in both those games to win handily, but they gave up too many points. That's 3 wins. That's 3 games that should have been won right there. Now you can throw in Vanderbilt. That's 4 games. They could be 10-1 right now. And he's right. They can be elite at times. And they can be elite and terrible in the same game. And that's what I think frustrates Billy and everybody else so much.
Yeah, good points. All right, we're going to hear from, real quick, we're going to hear from Jeffrey. I'm going to hear from our friends at Titan MRI, and we'll be right back to get Francis' thoughts on hoops and other things.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thanks, Jeff Cardoza. Appreciate that very much. Before we get into the basketball, which I want to get into because it looks like we'll be turning to basketball for a little relief here the next couple of months, hopefully, at that great FSU win last week. Boy, some of the things that happened on the weekend of football. What shocked you the most? What shocked me was South Carolina, how they got hammered by Florida, turned around and just beat the crap out of a pretty good Tennessee team that we thought had playoff potential. And I didn't see that coming. What did you think of that? And what do you think about the rumors they're going around about Banks, the linebacker, being suspended and after having an altercation? What are your thoughts about that, Brands?
Well, I'll start with South Carolina winning the game. What that showed me was how good Florida can be at times. Ties into what Billy said today about this team can be elite. They played an elite game against South Carolina. Then look what South Carolina did to Tennessee. It also shows me what Florida should have done to Tennessee if they had played anything close to what they played against South Carolina. Should have won that ball game, both of them. Both of those things really surprised me. Jeremy Banks, he's been a problem child a long time. Okay, not a big surprise there. And quite frankly, that should not have cost that may have cost them a couple touchdowns, okay? But this is a team that only scored 6 against the Florida defense. And they went out there and scored 63 points. So, okay, take away 14 points and it's still 49 points for South Carolina. Doesn't change a thing. I look at this and I think that probably did something, but should it have affected Tennessee mentally that badly? I can't see that happened. Just can't. I think that's an excuse being made. And I think right now Tennessee is looking for every excuse they can in the world. By the way, did you happen to see what Steve Spurrier said today about the Vols?
I did not.
He said, quote, "I almost felt sorry for Tennessee." And I'm going to give you my best Spurrier impersonation here. "Someone told me Tennessee's probably headed for the Citrus Bowl now. I guess that's kind of a mean thing to say."
He said he was a Tennessee fan. He admitted to that a couple of weeks ago. He was cheering for Tennessee. So his whole host. Let's talk about out of that way. I want you to know. You're a global guy. You spent time overseas. You taught over in the Middle East and whatever. Today I did my best job to be more global than I watched the World Cup tonight, okay? I watched it. And if you haven't heard, it was a draw. Hope I didn't mess up you. 1-1 on a game that I thought about you because it seemed like the officials played a big role in this. And I don't know soccer that well, but I just know there's a lot of yellow cards that came out against the U.S., and not many against Wales. And then when they did get to the end of the game, they started stopping for the injuries with Wales, 2 injuries, and didn't stop for the clock for U.S. So there's uneven officiating there. U.S. outplayed them for 45 minutes and got beat on a penalty kick. Didn't get beat, got tied on a penalty kick. So U.S. now plays England next. Should be favored to beat England in the Group 8 and come out of that. So I did my diligence, Shane, France. I watched on your behalf and our behalf, watched the World Cup tonight. I'm proud of myself.
You should be. You remember what Dan Jenkins said about soccer, don't you?
Soccer for sissies? I don't know.
No, he said, "Take soccer, please."
Yeah, we used to have a saying. We had a character who used to write a column in the New York Daily News called The Nose, which caused Tommy the Starter to go ballistic against the Nose for what he wrote. And I think his favorite saying was "Soccer for sissies." Not my saying, folks. It's theirs. All right, let's talk some Gator bat.
I can watch it. I can watch it once every 4 years.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, no, I watch it every 4 years, and I figure I'm doing my penance for all the things I did wrong for the 4 previous years, and this is my penance for all the mistakes I made. I watch soccer for the World Cup, for the entire World Cup.
All I can say is if you like offense, don't watch it. The U.S. scored a goal today, and they said, it's the first goal in 8 years. 8 years? My word. So I don't think if you like offense, you like soccer. So
remember what Alex Karras said about when they first introduced soccer-style kickers. I think Pete Gogolak was the first one, soccer-style kicker. And then followed by Garo Yepremian. And Karras played on the team with Garo Yepremian. And he said Garo Yepremian kicked his first field goal, and he goes to the sideline, "Look at me, I kick a touchdown, a touchdown."
I remember that. Yes, I do. All right, let's talk hoops. We saw some things that were really nice at the FSU game, friends. Boy, a couple of plays were just barn burners. I guess it was Fudge on the dunk. Is that who made it? I mean, he just dunked over a 7-foot guy.
7'4".
Yeah, 7'4", and then another Colin Castleton. I just wish he wouldn't try to dribble and do all the things that goes with that. But Castleton's been, what you got now, like 80 points or something in 3 games, and it's amazing.
88 points, 30 rebounds, 6 assists, and 9 block shots in his last 3 games. That's the most points since Anthony Roberson scored 90 over a 3-game period in 2005. I haven't been able to go back and check. I'm sure Neil Walk had some games where 3-game stretches when he had more points. I know he certainly had 3-game stretches when he had more rebounds than that. Yeah. And they didn't keep block shots as a stat back then. But it's a remarkable performance by a kid who's just an absolute warrior. He makes, goodness, I think everybody is shocked at how he is able to come out of the pack with the ball and start the fast break on the dribble. We haven't seen that since Noah and Horford from our big guys. And it was one of the things that made that team with Noah and Horford so special was you could get your guards out on the break, and you could get Humphrey, Torian, and Corey out on the break because you knew that these guys could handle the ball as well as a guard. And Castleton's showing he can do that.
Yeah, I have some stats in front of me. Apparently he had, last time anybody had back-to-back 30-point games was Anthony Roberson in 2005. And said he's career best 33 versus Kennesaw State, 30 versus FAU, and now 30 against FSU, I guess, right? Or 28.
25 points.
25, yeah.
25 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block shot. But who's counting?
The first Gator with a 30-point double-double since Joakim Noah, your favorite player, and what have you. So we're starting to see a few things. It was redemption time for losing to Florida Atlantic. I know Florida Atlantic was a good team and all that. Boy, that was a nice win. And the France were down by 19. 4th biggest comeback in the history of the program. And what were you thinking at halftime when they were down by 19 at Tallahassee, where they haven't won in 10 years?
Well, I thought that I was hoping that they would come back and make it respectable. I didn't hold out any hope that they were going to come all the way back. I was just hoping they could make it respectable and maybe lose by 7 or 8 points, you know. I thought that would have been quite an achievement. But they outscored FSU 33-5 out of the box. I mean, to start the second half. 23-3, and then it was 33-5. Holy cow. That's just ferocious. And that was, the defense was extraordinary. The biggest thing I liked about the comeback was watching how these guys shared the basketball. They got now Castleton, granted, had a string of a lot of points in a row, but he was the open guy. That's how he got those points. Trey Bonham, I thought, did a tremendous job coming off the bench. I thought he was really, really critical to that comeback. FSU didn't have anybody who could touch his quickness on the floor. And it was obvious that he and Lofton worked very, very well together. Just a good, solid win. And a really necessary win, because after losing FAU the way they did by not defending, they needed a game where they won because all of a sudden they turned on the defense. And I thought that was important.
All right, switching over back to football. Whoever thought we'd read something like this? Vanderbilt fined $250,000 for storming the field, more than Tennessee. Amazing.
They may storm the field again this week. I'm writing about it tonight. if you had, a week ago, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, I guarantee you every odds maker in the country would have made that, say, a 33-point spread if they'd done it last Monday, but ahead of the South Carolina game. Now, after Vanderbilt has beaten Florida and won 2 in a row, and Tennessee has come back down to earth, that's only a 14-point spread. And considering what the spreads have been against Kentucky and Florida for Vanderbilt, 14 is very, very manageable. I would not put it past Vanderbilt to spring the upset. That game's being played in the Titans Stadium. Vanderbilt, of course, taking advantage of the fact that it's Tennessee and they can make a bunch of money off that game. But, we've been in that press box at Vanderbilt, which is, about as big as the bathroom in your house. Not much bigger than that. I'll give it. It's about as big as the trunk on your former Chevy Tahoe. That's about how big it is. And they're moving it to that stadium. There's going to be a lot of Vanderbilt people there. They're excited for a change. Buddy, I'll tell you something else. Now that we're on the subject of Vanderbilt, if I am Auburn University, Lane Kiffin's not going anywhere. I'm told that he is not.
The reports out of Mississippi tonight he's going to resign this weekend.
Well, and Lane tweeted, said that's news to me. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's keeps saying I'm happy here. I don't think it's going to happen. It's kind of like Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops kept, they gave him a big raise and everything. He says, I hope everybody understands I'm committed to Kentucky now.
2031 got a new contract.
Yeah, Lane, they're giving Lane a contract extension too. They've made him like $9.5 million.
Yeah.
I don't see him going to Auburn. He's got a good gig there at Ole Miss. I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to leave Liberty either, because he's gotten a long-term extension there. They built him a 77-square-foot home that overlooks the mountain, overlooking their campus. He's got better facilities. He's got facilities Vanderbilt would kill for. They're at Liberty, and he's got more. The only people that have more money than Liberty are God, the Longhorns, and the Aggies. Trust me, they don't need $100 million a year of SEC money. They got that much money there. So the question is going to be this. There are rumors that they're going to name a coach on Friday. And my question would be this. Why would you name a head coach on Friday
before the game, the Egg Bowl?
Before the Egg Bowl, unless you're going to name Cadillac Williams. And Cadillac right now, considering the fact that they're $40 million in the hole for their last, count Gene Chizik too, they're like $48 million in the hole for buyout money. Oh, I forgot Tuberville. $55 million of buyout money in the hole over their last 4 coaches. If I'm Auburn, I might say we could hire Cadillac kind of cheap and save ourselves a whole bunch of buyout money here.
I don't think that's the way Auburn people think, though. I don't. I think they'll hire him. If they hire him, it's because he's part of the family. He was very well received. He did a heck of a job. He'd have to have really great coordinators to do it. He's not been a CEO of a company. It's a nice story, but will they settle for it? Let me ask you this. Can we turn back to Florida State? I want to ask you about Jeremy Crawshaw and your story on him. Let me first tell people about our good friends at Renstar Medical Research. You see it right there on the screen. They're quite exceptional people here in our community. A reputation as a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility. They bring cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia. Both friends and I have looked into joining some of those trials on these days and may still do so. Since 1998, Renstar has participated in more than 700 clinical research trials and continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical biomedical companies. You can check on their website, renstar.net, find out what the next one is. You may qualify. Renstar Medical Research seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Branch Beard, who thought an Australian punter would take up the cause to hate FSU?
I thought that was fabulous. Today he said, he said, I didn't grow up hating them. I didn't even know who they were till I came here. He says, now you hate them just because you're a Florida Gator. And I thought that was a great line. I really was impressed with him. He's he reminds you of. You look at the pictures of him, and he's got that mustache. I don't know if you remember the movie Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Michael Caine and Steve Martin. And Michael Caine, Michael Caine had this blonde mustache, and Jeremy Crawshaw could be a younger stunt double of Michael Caine. I promise you, it looks. I was so reminded of that today, that he looks like he could be that stunt double. I even told him that. I said, you could be a young Michael Caine stunt double for that. Well,
I wanted to read the quote that you had, if I could, in your story, and then I'd like you to take us out, telling us why you hate FSU, and give us one of your favorite memories. All right. So here's the quote. Jeremy Crawshaw said, "We're obviously coming out firing. We want to beat them. You don't want to lose against the Noles. I hate them now just being around. I never grew up hating them. I didn't even know who they were until I came here. Now you hate them because just being a Florida Gator, you don't want to lose to them. So we're coming in hot. We're going to come in hot this week. We want to turn around after what happened last week and go get ourselves a win to finish off the season." Comment on that and why you hate the Noles.
Well, I thought it was a great line, and the kid's he's just a breath of fresh air because of the way that he approaches things. He gives you fun answers, straight from the heart, but what a good kid, and I understand that. This is a team that you have to beat. This is for supremacy of the state. And he's absolutely correct about that. You cannot allow those people you just cannot allow those people to get a leg up on you in any way, shape, or form. You asked for a favorite memory. I know I got two of them. First one was 1975, and that was when Daryl Mudra spent the entire first quarter screaming. And we could hear him because in the old press deck, the coach's box was right above us, and the spiral stairs going up to the coach's booth was right below us. And we're hearing Mudra screaming and yelling the entire first quarter. And finally, Norm Carlson climbed up the stairs and he plugged in Mudra's headset. Mudra coached from the press box. And I will never forget that. My second memory has to do with this. In 2005, my mom was basically pretty close to death. She was in Orlando Regional Medical Center. On Wednesday, Urban Meyer grabs my hand, my arm, and says, "What's this I hear about your mother?" And I said, "Well, she's in the hospital, and she's it's looking pretty grim." He says, "What can I do?" And I just said, "Well, if you ever had time to call her, she loves you and adores you, and she'd love to hear from you." And he says, "I got your number, right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Consider it done." The next morning is Thanksgiving morning, and it's her birthday on Thanksgiving morning, and Urban calls along with Shelley, and not only just said happy Thanksgiving and happy birthday, they talked for 30 minutes. And then Urban says to my mom, "What can I'd give you for a birthday present. And my mom says, well, you could beat FSU. And he said, okay, we'll do our best. Well, on Saturday, there's the game, and it's a tight ball game. And then all of a sudden, we block a field goal. Reggie Lewis scoops it up, runs it back. That leads to Florida just going absolutely out of, Florida just dominated the game the rest of the way. That was also a game that the late Avery Atkins, one of my favorite kids of all time, the late, I still just moved to tears about what happened to that kid. But Florida ends up winning the game 34-7. And in the south end zone, after Urban finishes his press conference, I used to sit on the left side, second row on the left side. Urban goes walking out that way, and he takes his Gatorade bottle and whacks me on the butt and says, you think your mom liked that? Yeah, I think she does. He said, tell her happy birthday from me.
You can't. That can't be true. You know what a bad guy Urban Meyer is. He couldn't possibly have done
that. Well, that was a
good story.
It's still a great story.
Nice story, friends.
And you know something? I got an alive mom who'll be 94 years old.
Yeah.
On Sunday.
Yeah.
And I have to give him credit, because from that moment on, believe it or not, she just the improvement. Even the doctors said, "What happened? Well, I don't know," because they didn't think she was going to make it through the weekend. They really and truly did not think she was going to make it through the weekend. And not only did she make it through the weekend, she got better. She came home 2 weeks later, still with us, and it just goes to show you that there's such a thing as faith. That we still have miracles. And some of these coaches, I know a lot of coaches get bad raps out there that people think, well, they're making all this money and all this other stuff. We don't see or hear half the stuff, even a tenth of the stuff that these guys do. And we don't see all, I know a lot of people used to think that Steve Spurrier was aloof and everything. People do not realize how much money Steve Spurrier donated to charitable causes and helping kids who had played for him and all this other stuff. Amazing stories like that. Urban did the same thing. I go back and look at Ray Graves, how he just busted his butt to make sure that every single kid who didn't graduate in 4 years had a job and had an opportunity to come back and finish school. And I think his graduation rate was something like 98% for 10 years, which is amazing. We don't always hear the stories about how coaches do this thing. Billy Donovan sending a private plane to get Patrick Young after that car accident in South Dakota and fly him to Denver to a trauma center. And Patrick Young is probably going to walk again because of what Billy Donovan did. We're too critical of coaches too often. And there's a lot of good coaches out there who, and I know there are coaches out there who have earned their bad reps and everything like this. But I got to tell you what, there's way, way, way too many of them who don't get credit for all the good things that they do with those millions that they're making.
Thanks for pointing that out. Good stories touch a lot of people with that story, and we do have to remind them they're human beings. And by the way, I want to point out we evaluate them by wins and losses, but Billy Napier is a really good human being, just so you know, okay? And that's what you got to remember. And when you're feeling bad about it, think about that. Good stuff, friends. Well done, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Have a good one. Brand Spirit, the Iron Duke, full of stories tonight. Good job. friends telling those stories. I want to remind you folks, too, that the green M in the top right-hand corner, speaking of friends, represents our friends at Main Street Community Bank, who've been partners with us on this show for a while. They are sponsors of the Green Room now, the Orange and Blue Room. And they're, of course, an independent, FDIC-insured, locally operated full-service bank offering a broad range of financial services. What makes Main Street Community Bank so special is the people. I know I deal with them on a regular basis. It's always a pleasure to go into Main Street Bank, and I can't say that of many other banks. But anyway, so thank you to Main Street, our friends over there. Main Street Community Bank of Ocala Community is our middle name, sponsor of the Green Room, now the Orange and Blue Room, on the Buddy Martin Show. Well, thank you to our guests tonight, Shane and France. It's always good to have them on. Thanks to all you. Appreciate the comments on the show, Lauren, and all you folks. Thank you very much for the comments about our. And by the way, check out Gator Bait. It's a special publication, full of heart, good people doing good things. So if you're not a member, check it out. Go to GatorBaitMedia.com and see what you think of us. And I'm just going to say this little thing. I'm not allowed to say too much. Watch out for Black Friday. Watch out for Black Friday, okay? Just telling you, watch out for Black Friday. I'm Buddy Martin on behalf of my partners, broadcast partners, our sponsors, and all of you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Be back tomorrow night.